the Reeds have become friends, and I want to thank you, Beth. Thank you guys for your hosting. Thank you everyone for coming out here and hearing this crazy vision. And I'll say that I'm just hoping to share a little. We'll see what comes. Who knows what comes off the PowerPoint? What comes as I talk here, but to share my heart a little bit, share the story a little bit. I have a little. I might preach a little. I'm a little pastor, so something might come out of me a little bit here. You guys all know that we're in the middle of a crisis, right? It's obvious. The crisis is the same. We have the number one cause of death in our nation. Okay. For those under the age of 55, it says 50 on everything, but they actually say 55 in stats now, so that's not a good thing. The number one cause of death is overdoses, and that's not including alcohol. That's not including all these other things that are related. When we know we have someone in our family who commits suicide, but we know they were in the thralls of addiction as well. We got the pizza coming in over here. So.
I got it.
And so the number one cause, we got some food coming, is overdose. I have this little thing here that I hand out. It's like a little giving card, and I've learned not to hand it out on planes because every day 175 Americans die from drug overdose. That's like a 737 crashing, and every single person on board dying every single day. And so that number is actually low than what the real number is. When I got it printed up, it's closer to 200 a day. By the time we got it printed up and the stats came out, that wasn't accurate. There have been some little dips at times, but as you'll see, those were just temporary dips of what the reality is in this world right now. So we are in a crisis. This is Virginia. We're on track for 1,600 overdoses in Virginia. That's four people dying in this state every single day from overdoses. And many of these people don't know Jesus. And I really believe we can be part of the solution here. You guys all know, most of you know, the story of the prodigal son, right? Great analogy. We can use this for, it's not an analogy, I don't mean that, but we can use it as an analogy for addiction, right? There's a lot of similarities there. The basic of the story is that this father has two sons. One son comes to the father and says, hey, give me my inheritance now, which is basically saying you're dead to me, right? The father says, okay, lets him go. He goes, he squanders the inheritance on wild living. Famine comes into the land. He longs to fill his stomach with the food of the pigs, and he travels back, and the father shows him mercy. You guys know the story here a little bit, right? One point. There were two sons. They had the same father. I want this to resonate with us, because we used to have this kind of attitude about addiction, and especially about heroin, that it was those people. And God, I think, is finally waking us up, though it's a little late when it's the number one cause of death, taking us to open our eyes, that it's not just those people. The Palm Beach Post did a whole thing, this is where I'm at, in the middle of the crazy Florida shuffle mess that happened down there, if you know anything about that. But they did this profile, and they did this on the front page of the paper. And they just did the heroin. They couldn't do the opioids. That was just too much. They took every picture that they could find, which is really sad when they can't find the photos of the person, of everyone that had died. This was 3 years ago, I think, from heroin overdoses. And then once a week, they were doing profiles of their story and telling their story. And I mean, I could go through and name people who are in there that I spent time praying with and with their families and the stories behind many of these people. There was many seasons where it was just almost daily, and there's still rarely a week go by where there's someone I know who doesn't die. This is real. It's not those people. Not those people. Now these are good stories here, so don't worry. They're alive. They're good. Okay. This is my friend Junior. I'm just going to share a few stories here. So my friend Junior got caught up in cocaine and everything you can think of. He was a successful guy, a good salesman. Most addicts are good salesmen, right? Doing good, but got caught up in that. Life just got rocked, just a normal story of addiction. Came down, became a part of Recovery Church, became a part of some good community. He worked the steps through Alcoholics Anonymous and got a sponsor and took him through those steps. He fell in love with Jesus. Came to Recovery Church because we had coffee. He tells that story because we had real coffee because they wouldn't give him coffee in his rehab. No caffeine was allowed. And so, you guys at Celebration know that. There's places no caffeine at all. But he came. Now he is the discipleship pastor. He's one of our pastors at Recovery Church Lake Worth, but he's the discipleship pastor of Journey Church, which is one of the top 4 largest churches in Palm Beach County. It's a huge mega church, and he's on staff there as their discipleship pastor, and he's part of our team for the movement as well. What we have here is we have Katie. And anyone who's on here, guys, I'm not violating their anonymity. They've given me permission. I just want to share some of these stories. Isn't Katie an absolutely stunning young lady? She does not see herself that way. She does not realize how gorgeous she is on the outside and on the inside. She is a beautiful young lady. She grew up in a town called Oak Hill, and Oak Hill was devastated. They shut down the fishing industry there years ago, and the town was just devastated, and everyone became addicts. I don't know, but when you think of a heroin addict, guess what? It's not those people, is it? It's us. Katie she's now part of our leadership at one of the campuses, and she's discipling a bunch of young ladies, and she was baptized she was baptized only about 6 months ago, and God is just transforming her life. This is Crispy. Crispy was raised in an abusive home that was from a Mormon background, and because of the abuse, because of the doctrine and the different things that were taught to him, he became an atheist. An angry atheist, alcoholic. He came down to Recovery Church, became a part of our community down there, and we allowed him to be. He came and he served. And he would say at the end of the nights, I don't know what I'm doing here, but you guys love me. Thank you for letting me be a part of here. I kind of want what you have. And he was serving and serving and serving and serving and just watching him be a part of us. We got to baptize him. Now he has over 2 years sober, I believe. We're going on 2 years sober. And now he's taking people through the steps. And one of he loves to do is share the gospel with people. He's on fire for Jesus. This is Michael. Michael, 2 years ago, was at Christmas time, was sleeping in his car in Chicago, homeless, no gas, nothing, completely strung out. And now Michael is on staff at a local church as well as helping us at Church Lake Worth, and wants to join the team of another church plant up in West Palm, just half hour up and help get that one going. Those people. I'm not going to go through everyone here. Dennis Whalen, he was a part of our campus in Lake Worth. He's celebrating, I think, about 3 years right now. His dad was the vice president of the Christian Missionary Alliance. It's a denomination. He grew up in the church. He's a PK of a powerful PK, an influential PK. And he was buying pills in the middle of Colorado Springs, in the middle of Christian Mecca up there. And now his story has been redeemed, and he's sharing his story, and the denomination is starting to get aware of that there's a crisis going on. It's not those people, it is us. Now this crazy looking guy here, this hippie looking guy here is my brother. Okay? So I can call him a crazy looking guy. So I was going to put a picture up there. He likes to get his hair in those little tiny braids like Bo Derek. And so whenever I see him, I call him Bo Derek, like from 10. And he does not like me calling him Bo. So Kevin was 30 years on the street. He started using around the age of 10. It's kind of my fault. He's 10 years older than me. Okay. So I never knew him clean and sober. He became a cuss word in my family. When you said Kevin, it brought all sorts of weight associated with pain and hurt because it was nonstop active addiction. And so I'm wrong on dates, a horrible historian, but I was literally sitting in my office probably 7 years ago or so. I'm bad on the dates, I could be off time on that. And I'm the only pastor in the family. So it's becoming quite clear that he is heading towards a bottom here, and most likely at this stage, without intervention in his life, he is going to die. And so I'm trying to write down his eulogy. I'm trying to prepare for his funeral. I'm sitting in my office, and I sometimes carry his eulogy with me when I talk, because it just has some meaning to me at this point. And I'm trying to write it. I'm trying to write it with integrity, because I don't know him. All I know is the pain. At that point, all I know is the suffering. All I know is the hurt. All I know is the devastation, this disease. And I want to give people hope at a funeral.
Yes.
I couldn't find hope. I couldn't find, did he know Jesus? Did he not? And I kid you not, I get done with having this kind of argument with God as I'm writing and I'm praying. Anyone ever do that? You kind of argue with God? And I'm looking at his mug shots on the computer, because that's how I knew he was alive. I would search his mug shots to see and seeing the progression. And as I'm looking at his mug shots, he calls me up. He calls me up and says, "Phil," and I respond, "No, I'm not going to send you money. No, I'm not. I'll take you to rehab if you're willing to go. I'll do whatever. I'm heaven and earth to get you somewhere where I'll do whatever it takes." Boom. Well, 20 minutes later, he starts trying to convince me that the love of his life needs to go to treatment and everything else. Please help her. And I lied to him and said, "Sure, I'll help her." She was Canadian, so we shipped her off to Canada. But he came, and rather than burying him, I got to baptize him.
Amen.
Okay?
So good.
And he's been a part of Recovery Church. Now, has it been a straight line? No. He has a horrible cancer diagnosis, stage 4. And he's been fighting that, and in that, he has not followed the path perfectly. But if I ever have to do that funeral now, there's some hope there.
Yeah. Amen.
He's helping people, he has helped people, he has walked alongside people, and he had a 4-year straight run of being just helping and pouring into people before that cancer diagnosis. And now he's doing pretty good overall. Another casualty here that we don't talk about in this craziness.
Yeah.
This would be my great nephew that we just found out about 2 days ago. He lived 4 days and then passed away. My brother's daughters, who is out there right now that we are not sure where she is, that we're looking for. It's not those people. We've all been impacted, right? It is us. And we have to do something about it. We cannot stand by and just lose an entire generation to this. Not those people. So, one thing we can do for the young ones who are there right now. So in the story of the prodigal son, he longed to fill his stomach with the pods that were the pigs eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, I want you to think about the famine in the land. No one gives him anything, and then the next step, he comes to his senses. Us as churches, we are the biggest enablers in the world. Okay? We have to start to allow, and I'll show that picture here up here. This little guy here is a few years ago. That tree is like, I don't know, 30, 40 feet up, and he's like 4 years old, okay? That's my son Judah. This is a few years back. He was tree climbing like crazy. Any mom nervous about him up there, okay? Okay? And Judah would love to climb our tree in the backyard. And we had this big, huge tree, and he was prideful as can be, and he's jumping from branch to branch to branch. And you're sitting there and you explain to him, he wasn't going to listen, right? And one day, in a moment of brilliance, or you'll call child services on me, I'm watching Judah climb down out of the tree. And as he's coming down out of the tree, he's coming, and he's getting maybe where he's up like 6 feet up in the air, and I see he's going to miss the branch. And I have a choice. Do I catch Judah, or do I let him fall? And in that moment, it's just like, I let that kid fall, and he hit that ground. Man, that was a hard decision. He hits that ground, he's crying, but then I walk over to him and I talk to him about Judah. How bad did that hurt? Man, he's crying. What would have happened if you fell from 30 feet up there, bud? And he got it. You see, we have to allow people to fall from 6 feet before they're 40 years old and they're falling from 30 feet, because when they're 40 years old and they're falling from 30 feet, guess what's going to happen? They're going to fall on you, and you're going to be 60, and they're going to crush you. And there's not going to be anyone to catch them anymore. And then they're going to climb back up to 40 feet, and then they're going to fall. No one's going to be there, and they're going to be dead. Allow them to fall as soon as we can. Feel it. Now, fentanyl has changed the game on this. Okay? We have to raise that bottom sometimes. This is not a straight line. And we have to figure things out. We have to be creative, because it is not as easy as just tough love. But sometimes we need to think about this wisdom as communities. Allow people to fall. The other thing we need to do as the church is anticipate their return. That father was prepared. He had a ring, he had a robe, he had a fattened calf, while the son was a long way off. Okay, I should not have been preparing my brother's eulogy. I should have been preparing for his return. Now, I had resources. I was able to pull strings and get him into a rehab. Most people can't do that. We need to be preparing. What do we have? How do we help the person when they walk in here, when they call and they call us? And then all of a sudden you're trying to call me or James at 3 in the morning. What do? And we're like, we don't know. Let's get a plan together now. Let's anticipate their return.
That's good word, brother.
How do we do that? We pray. Again, as my brother here said, right? Nothing good without prayer. We want to be a people of prayer. We study God's Word, absolutely. We get educated. One of the great resources that are out there of our time is read the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a great resource, okay? It's a great resource, okay? All sorts of other stuff here. You can say, work your own 12-step program. Learn the lingo, learn the process. There's CODA, there's Al-Anon, there's all sorts of stuff we can do. Get therapy, learn what treatment programs are out there, learn what resources are out there. And sometimes you might get to clean your house a little bit, both figuratively and literally. You're coming home, you're preparing for the return. You might have some old medication there that you need to get rid of. That there's no reason to keep those old oxys from 3 years ago from your dental surgery. Okay? Learn about Narcan, naloxone. And one of the ways we can participate and anticipate their return, I believe, is Recovery Church. I believe is Recovery Church, and we're going to get into this here. We're going to meet them with compassion. I hate that word when it comes to this. Compassion. Okay? Sympathetic concern for the misfortune of others. My brother did all sorts of horrible stuff. I did horrible stuff in my addiction. I remember my brother coming in my room when I was like 10 years old, picking me up, throwing me out of the bed to give him money. I'm 10 years old. He's beating me up to give him money, thinking I might have $5 in my piggy bank or something so he can go get high. And compassion for his misfortune. The father, when his father saw him, was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. No one says, when I grow up, I want to be a junkie.
Right.
That's
right.
No one says that. We have compassion for the missed dreams. Compassion for the pain. Compassion for what they've gone to.
Yeah.
We love on them. We love on them. So, they have the same Father. It's not those people, it's us. We let them fall. We let them go. We anticipate their return, and we meet them with compassion. I believe all these things can happen within Recovery Church. So, part of the solution. Each year, overdose kills more Americans than the entire Vietnam War. And we're not having the outcry we once had with that. So, brief history of Recovery Church. 2010, Drunk Church was born. Okay? The motto there in this residential treatment center is you may have been to church drunk, but you've never been to drunk church. Okay? And it was this fun thing we did in the middle of the treatment center, and it exploded. And we started discovering some unique values and some unique things that seemed to work. And it became hundreds of people at this treatment center, all the staff, all the patients, everyone were coming, and we were just having a blast. Hundreds came to faith, hundreds were baptized. We were baptizing 10 to 20 people a week. It was beautiful. Then we took it out to the community in 2011. Recovery Church Lake Worth was born. And then in 2013, some people who obviously were inspired, you can see their name, Drunk Church. They obviously found out somehow about Drunk Church. I don't want to say more than that. And they came to me saying, "Can you help us go plant another drunk church?" I said, "Man, you guys are nuts. I'm not doing that. I have enough on my plate." So what do addicts and alcoholics do? They don't listen. They go and do it anyways. And so they did it, and some amazing things happened. Then there's a gap here. You see this big gap here. Lots of people coming to me. "Come on, do this. Come on, I'm going back to New Jersey. Come on. We want Recovery Church." No, I'm not going to do it. I'm reluctant. I don't listen to God. And 2016, we started up this little 12-step fellowship down there. This little group. Okay, I'll do that. I'll let this little group go. I'll help this little group. We'll do that. 2017, a group came from Vero Beach. They were driving an hour and a half each way to come to Recovery Church Lake Worth.
Wow.
Every week, a van load of them coming down, and they said, "Phil, can we start a recovery, or can you come up here and start a recovery church in Vero Beach?" "No." "You know what? I'll help you guys do it." Okay. So that was the first yes. But I was still working full time. I had a good job. There was no reason. I was no longer in the treatment industry, but I had enough on my plate. Then in 2018, I'm in charge of COO of this church planning organization called the Timothy Initiative. And we're planning thousands of little micro churches, and it's a great ministry. But God had different plans. They wanted to move the corporate offices from South Florida to Raleigh, North Carolina. And God would not free me from this hobby that we were just having fun with on the side. It was just exciting. It was beautiful. We were just having a laugh. God would not release me of it. And God said, "Philip, start saying yes. Start saying yes." And the vision God gave me was saying, okay, we're going to have churches for addicts and alcoholics, by addicts and alcoholics. And I'm arguing with God, "God, you're nuts. You're crazy, God. And do you realize how much of a mess this is going to be? And I know these people. I'm one of these. No way. We're not going to do this, Lord." Okay, I'll start telling people this crazy vision. So I start sharing the vision, and God starts providing. And as you can see, in 1 year, God has been doing some amazing stuff. We're on track for 18 locations of recovery churches all over the place. And you'll see on the brochures, it doesn't have all the locations on there. Up here, it doesn't have all the locations on here because they're growing so quickly. We've been doing about one a month now. God is in this. He is doing some amazing things. We are united by a core set of values. Now, some of these terms here are a little goofy, but we're united by a core set of values, and they are some basic things. And so we'll go through these real quick here in the short form. I'm not going to read the long form of these. But Jesus is our hope. He is with us and the bedrock of our faith. And the long stuff, all the stuff, we'll skip that. You guys can look at that later. Recovery. We do recovery from addiction and grow to help others. God's purpose is for Jesus to live in us and through us. We have the freedom to live a sober, abundant life. If a recovery church is not for recovery, if a recovery church is not about Jesus, it's not a recovery church. The Bible. The Bible is the inspired word of God and reveals the divine standard for what we believe, teach, and do. We're not in the business of starting some other kind of thing that doesn't look to the truth of God's word. Okay? God's word is the foundation of what we do here.
Good.
Unity. There is unity in our diversity, and we are united in our shared solution. We are united with the church and all 12-step fellowships. We've changed that word in there, that we are for all 12-step fellowships, because some fellowships say, hey, wait a minute, you're pushing on our tradition.